Every summer we'd pack up the car for the trip from Boston to Campbell, Ohio, a small town near Youngstown, where my grandfather and many other Greek islanders from Kalymnos settled. Arriving there, we would pull up in front of the white cottage on Whipple Avenue that my grandfather built with his own hands, some said rather foolishly, at the height of the Depression. It wouldn't be long before my grandfather's eyes would zero in on our shoes, which, like most young boys, were usually worn and scuffed. Before we knew it, we'd find ourselves walking to the shoe store to get a new pair. Back home, he'd show us his closet where he kept his several pairs of black shoes, smartly shined and in tip-top condition, a none too subtle reminder about how we ought to take care of our own. "Why does Papu care so much about shoes?" I asked my father one time. "Growing up on Kalymnos, he never had them. He always had to walk barefoot," he explained. Bare feet or scuffed shoes were unwelcome reminders of a childhood of poverty, a life that led him and his two brothers to leave home, family, his island birthplace, and his country for distant lands. On those many summer trips to Ohio, we often played long hours of kick the can with our cousins, but I never thought to ask my grandfather about his life. Year after year, I'd be happy for the new pair of shoes, never really understanding their full significance, never stopping to consider the great courage that it must have taken him to leave the beautiful shores of Kalymnos, not knowing whether or not he'd ever return. I wondered about how he first ended up in Buenos Aires, Argentina, laying stone for a presidential palace and several public squares. I can't imagine what it must have been like to uproot himself again 10 years later when he moved to Campbell. I would have liked to have asked my grandfather what his first reaction was when his close friend showed him a picture of his sister, Calliope, and offered him her hand in marriage back in Kalymnos. I wish I could know what went through my grandfather's mind as his young wife and infant son, my father, got off the boat several years later and joined him in America. More than 30 years later, when he retired, all my grandfather received for his long service working the open hearth furnace at Youngstown Sheet and Tube was a simple lighter. Still, as I picture him as an old man sitting on the couch, watching his favorite baseball team, the Cleveland Indians, with his son and grandchildren around him, I wonder, was he content with the decision he had made as a young man to leave Kalymnos? Was he happy knowing that he had achieved the American dream, a steady job, his own home and 4 children, 3 college-educated sons, 2 Greek Orthodox priests, including my father, and a lawyer, and a housewife? Papu, thank you for all those shoes you bought us. It was wonderful having a new pair to wear, though I did not realize until much later what they meant to you. Symbols of success in a new land. I think about that now, and about how I'll judge my own life from time to time when I put on my well-worn shoes.